Hello, everybody. Thanks for joining our webinar today, hosted by Hudson RPO. I'm Christine Kane, and I'm the Global Vice President of Client Success here at Hudson. Today's conversation is based on a recent paper written by the Everest Group and commissioned by Hudson RPO. It's called The Globalized Workforce Strategy in an Era of Talent Chaos. As we all know, the talent landscape has rapidly changed in the last few years, and it really is difficult for leaders to anticipate what's ahead. So today we're fortunate to have two experts join us who can help us navigate through this ever-changing environment. Jeff Bettinger is the Chief Administrative Officer for Hudson RPO, and Lokesh Goyal is a Practice Director at the Everest Group. Before we dive in, let's do some quick introductions. Jeff, would you like to begin?
You bet. Thanks so much, Christine, and excited to see so many of you joining, and we hope that we can provide some insights that will help you as we discuss this research and how it can impact your organizations. I came to Hudson from the industry. I spent several years in medical device and pharma and retail, where I was a head of talent, and then eventually was a chief HR officer at a couple of different companies in consumer products and medical device. I really came to the organization, to Hudson, because I'm just absolutely obsessed with talent acquisition and all things in helping companies to grow. At Hudson, we don't see talent acquisition as a strategy or as a function. We see it more as like a competitive advantage. The landscape has shifted dramatically over the last few years. And because of our deep expertise, we really help people navigate this evolution and insight. So we're super excited to have partnered with Lokesh and his team at Everest Group to really take a deeper dive into this talent chaos and how we as practitioners can help provide our companies a little bit more clarity in this really, really volatile time.
All right. Thanks a lot for your introduction, Jeff. I'll go next. So, hey, hi, everyone. Really excited to be here. I'm Lokesh Goyal. I'm a practice director at Everest Group. I have been working in the research and the broader management consulting space for over 10 years now. At Everest Group, I lead all our research in the talent acquisition space, focusing both on services as well as the technology ecosystem that we have. I particularly focus across permanent recruitment, so the areas like RPO, search, ATS, candidate experience, engagement platforms, and whatnot. And I also track our contingent workforce management program, which is MSP, SOW, direct sourcing, VMS, and the freelancer research as well. So at Everest Group, we regularly interact with most of the large RPO providers as well as major enterprises who are exploring or currently engaging in RPO services and technologies. We help them, we try our best to help them in strategizing for their TA processes and basically simplify their outsourcing journey by refining their TA programs and help them navigate through the challenges that they are facing in their TA programs. So yeah, that's me. Happy to be here. All right, let's get started with the presentation at hand today. So we are today going to talk about, as Christine mentioned, globalized workforce strategy in the era of talent chaos. And we are particularly calling it talent chaos because, as it's, I'm sure, no surprise to all of you, we are currently living in an environment which is in constant flux when it comes to the overall talent landscape. Now, as talent acquisition and HR leaders, what does that mean for you? That means that you need to be on your toes all the time. You need to plan ahead for the future workforce needs of your organization and make sure that you're diversifying your TA strategies in a way that you are able to get the talent when you need, as you need, and at the scale that you need it at. So that's the topic at hand today. Let me just jump in to why you need to have a globalized workforce strategy. So it's no surprise that we are right now living in a world which is more globally connected than ever. Most of you would have your operations spread out across geographies, right? So let's talk about why it is now important for all of you to adopt a globalized workforce strategy across your TA program. This is particularly very important for you who have a distributed workforce across different regions. Another point to note here, post-pandemic, the world has changed. It has revealed vulnerabilities in traditional talent strategies. If we go back a little and talk about 2021 and 22, organizations faced fierce competition for talent. It was followed by a lot of economic uncertainties as well. There were workforce disruptions, critical innovations, and TA technologies followed. But then that was the period of 2023 and 24 when we saw an influx of investments from both services as well as tech providers. Now, most of the TA and HR leaders still continue to struggle despite all these technologies and services being out there, and they struggle particularly in attracting top talent across the key geographies. Now, this just underscores the importance of revisiting your overall TA strategy. You need to look at it both from a process as well as from an employer brand perspective as well. Now, what are we saying in terms of addressing these challenges? Businesses are now moving towards more agile and globalized workforce strategies. You need to emphasize on resilience and diversification. This includes embracing hybrid workforce models, which in itself presents its own complications. You need to leverage global talent pools. You can't just look at your immediate regions where you are in a requirement, but the skills that you are requiring the talent for, it may not be available in ample supply in your region. So you need to go global. You need to integrate these advanced technologies into the workforce, and you need to optimize your current processes as well. And adding to that, the rising demand of flexibility among the employees, that is shifting the entire way that the TA and HR leaders used to look at their broader workforce strategies. Shifting economic landscape is presenting its problem on its own. Organizations need to now craft sustainable strategies that need to prioritize talent mobility, cost efficiency, and inclusivity. Jeff, would love to hear your thoughts also on this topic over here. What are you seeing at Hudson in terms of globalization of TA strategies?
We're seeing quite a bit. It's clients large and small. We're calling it, or maybe I'm calling it, intentional globalization. Companies just aren't expanding globally for cost. It's turning more and more into innovation, resilience, and even speed to market. And whether that's really, really large clients that we have, or even some very, very small consulting things that we've been a part of, we're seeing organizations really try and figure out how to make themselves more efficient, but then beyond that, embrace or find additional talent pools that they maybe haven't had access to. One particular, consulting engagement that I was part of recently was just a small architectural firm. But in that architectural firm, they were struggling with finding people who could put together the diagrams and work in some of the programs that were used at the architecture firm. And they made the decision to try and provide a much more round-the-clock service and speed to market because they had such a limited talent pool. So we actually went out and did a little bit of talent analytics, something that we do at Hudson quite effectively. And we were able to identify just little pockets where there are some people out there who could really potentially support them. And specifically in this situation, it was dental offices that they were really looking for. And we were able to just match them up with the perfect talent. And in essence, for this little architectural firm, create this little pod of expertise that helps to build the ecosystem so that that organization in roughly call it Western US demographic, were able to start expanding their practice further and further. And now they're doing architectural work across Europe and other locations simply because they brought in additional skill sets to handle capacity. So it's not just about headcount, it's about building an ecosystem that allows a company to really bring forward the diverse thinking, to connect people in a very distributed way, very cohesively. But it also then, I think, adds to the employer's brand globally to be able to say that they're some sort of a global partner. So when we talk about talent chaos, we're really talking about, to me, an inflection point. We're at a point where people who want to invest in resilience and culture, they're going to emerge ahead. And those who try and keep themselves kind of pocketed are going to have challenges. And, we're seeing that in a lot of the work we're doing right now, especially in the talent analytics side, where companies are coming and asking us to help them figure out how and where to place various centers of expertise so that they can support the innovation in some of the support of their company at more of the customer service level. Back to you, Lokesh.
Yeah, interesting. Thanks a lot for sharing those thoughts, Jeff. Now let's look at the slide that we have pulled up right now. Here, what we are trying to do is that, yes, we are talking about globalized workforce strategies. Jeff just spoke about some of the advantages that it can bring to your organization as well. But yeah, let's now look at what precisely are the advantages and the additional benefits that you can derive out of this. Now, these refer to the comprehensive approach that you can adopt to attract, manage, and optimize talent from a global talent pool, of course. We are not talking about having an isolated regional talent pool, but we are talking about expanding it to a global level. Now, these strategies can help you address skill gaps, enhance diversity, and ensure organization resilience, which is becoming particularly important in the day of time that we are living in now. Now, by leveraging these technological advances and cross-team collaborations, globalized workforce strategies can enable enterprises to transcend geographical limitations. This also helps in reducing operational costs, by the way. So there is a lot of cost arbitrage at play as well. And of course, it also helps you build a flexible and future-ready workforce. Let's first talk about expanding global talent pools to bridge the skills gap. Now, globalized workforce strategies emphasize expanding access to the talent pools worldwide. And this especially becomes important because of the skill shortages that we are seeing right now. In certain regions, that problem is becoming an extreme headache for the HR and TA leaders. The local availability is very limited. And of course, the talent is also very expensive. So it is now time to look at other regions as well, especially if you are facing those challenges in your TA and HR workflows as well. Now, what do you need to tap into that? So first, you get access to specialized skills. By acquiring global talent, now there are a lot of business hubs like Hyderabad, Bangalore, Singapore, Hong Kong, where organizations can acquire niche expertise in fields like tech and engineering. Now, these regions often house skilled professionals in key areas, and there is ample supply. Now, this allows you to, let's say, set up a GCC center or a GBS center of your own, benefit from the cost arbitrage while also getting quality talent in ample supply. Second, cost optimization. Establishing these offshore or nearshore delivery centers, especially in the cost-effective regions like Southeast Asia, Eastern Europe, and Latin, depending on where the bulk of your operations are, they can help you reduce the labor and operational expenses. This provides significant competitive advantage as well. Third, geographical risk mitigation. Now, a geographically distributed workforce will reduce your dependence on a single region. This will minimize the risk. And there are many risks, by the way. So, for example, regulatory changes, economic instabilities, and even the geopolitical conflicts that we are currently living in the time of. This diversification can also help you ensure uninterrupted business operations during the crisis. Hopefully, we are not going to face another one in the future. But yeah, I'm talking about COVID-19. Market entry and expansion is another key advantage that you can derive out of this. A globally equipped workforce, let's say you have already set up an offshore or a nearshore center, and over time you can use that to expand into those markets as well. It can also serve as a beachhead for you to look at other markets which may not be nearer to your home region, but with these centers and these offshoring locations, it now provides you access with those regional languages, cultural knowledge, compliance, and everything that you need to make that market entry. Lastly, workforce agility and flexibility. Now, providing employees with opportunities for global mobility and flexible work arrangement, this is proven to foster very high satisfaction levels amongst your employee workforce as well. So this is another advantage that you get. Now let's talk about some of the additional benefits, which are not the core benefits, but then these are also playing a significant role in terms of defining your TA strategy. First is business resilience. If you have diversity in your workforce across locations, you have access to broader range of skills and ideas. Now, this can help you navigate those uncertain business conditions as well. You can scale up and down organically as the demand arises because you are sitting at a diversified supply of talent. Next is enhanced innovation. Now, if you have diverse teams which are truly global in nature, they can bring in their own unique perspective and experiences, and this can also encourage creative thinking as well as innovative solutioning in your organization. Next would be improved organizational culture. Cultural exchange and inclusivity is known to foster a positive work environment, and this has significant impact on the overall employee experience as well. So this is another additional advantage that you can gain. Then the stronger employer branding. If you have a global diversified workforce, a strong employer brand becomes extremely important. And with a global workforce, you are able to manage and create that brand perception in the market as the employer for choice very effectively. This can help you in attracting top talent from across the globe. Jeff, would love to hear about some of these things from what you're seeing on the ground happening, right? So, are there organizations which are able to reap these benefits? If you would like to talk about that for a couple of minutes, that would be great.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Lokesh. I recently had the opportunity to work with one organization where they didn't view diversity as a checkbox. And despite the political, world that we live in right now, really felt like diversity was going to become a business multiplier. And there's plenty of research that helps us to understand that diverse teams innovate faster, they're more flexible, they navigate ambiguity more effectively. And this particular organization that I had the opportunity to work with was looking to really amplify the impact and effectiveness of their marketing organization. So we did some talent analytics work, and we identified a little hub in Barcelona, of all places, that we decided to try and go after employees and talent in that location. So we worked on developing a really strong employer value proposition with that company and trying to help people in that area where this company had really never operated build out a value proposition that was very, very applicable to talents there. And over the period of about a year, we developed about a 40-person hub for this organization that became sort of their global marketing headquarters. And it became a real sweet spot, and it helped them to not just, to your point, when we were looking at your earlier research there about market entry and expansion, it actually helped that organization to become more fully rooted in Spain, and they started to really grow in that area. And all of that was intended to try and build this more global, approach to having key talent where they could build more multinational succession pipelines. So now that talent is in a situation several years later where they can move across the organization and assist in new geographies as they continue to launch in different ways. At Hudson, we've helped clients to create centers of excellence in Asia Pac, in Eastern Europe, Latin America. We love to go into these markets, one, because our global footprint has been so strong for so many years. We have a real strong knowledge of what we can find and how we can assist companies in these spaces. The thing that I think a lot of organizations at times fail to remember, though, and it's ties to talent acquisition, but it really more to the HR function, is that the need for global thinking leaders is all the more important as a company goes through some sort of globalization. There's a unique set of skills that are needed to manage across time zones and cultures, across digital tools. And those things where they may have been optional 5, 10 years ago, it's just absolutely vital. So if you have a company out there, or you belong to a company where they're talking about globalizing, where they are globalizing, where they're looking to set up various hubs for either market access or skill sets, you have to be able to tack onto that. How do you manage and work with those remote teams in a way that your leadership has the skill set to really drive the innovation and the goals of globalizing as an organization? As you do it, it speeds up innovation and success for a company. But it is a big investment.
Yeah, definitely would agree with that 100%, Jeff. All right, let's now that we have talked about what are the benefits or advantages that you can gain out of this, let's also now talk about how to make this a reality, right? Because it's one thing to see that it is attractive to implement this, but how to do that is a different story altogether. So let's talk about the 4 steps that we have sort of highlighted in the white paper also that we have written. How do you enable a truly global workforce strategy? Now, enterprises and the TA leaders, HR leaders need to prioritize these 4 areas, and this will help them in developing an effective workforce strategy. So, first is developing a globalized EVP, employer brand value proposition. Second is to expand talent pools, tap into emerging markets, as well as look at early career programs. Third is harness the power of AI and technology. And this is one of the key areas that is playing out right now. And the fourth is forging strategic partnerships with TA providers. So it's okay to say that, yes, we want to take our program global, but how will you actually do that if you don't have boots on the ground? So that's where forging these strategic partnerships with certain TA providers can help you implement this as well. All right, so let's talk about the employer value proposition first. Now, this plays a pivotal role in terms of attracting and retaining a diverse and global workforce. Now, you need to balance globalization with localization. That's what you see on the screen. On the left side, we have globalization. On the right side, we have tailored regional nuances, which we refer to as localization. And this can ensure you having a unified organizational entity, identity, while also catering to the local nuances. And this becomes extremely important. Now, how to achieve that balance is the question. So let's look at what can be the key steps that can help you in achieving this balance. Now, first is consistency across geographies. A strong global EVP needs to provide a cohesive experience for employees worldwide. There's no negotiating on that. You need to align it with your organization's core value and the culture that you are trying to inculcate. And this can help you in attracting top talent across borders. This can also help in enhancing employee satisfaction, as we have also covered before. And of course, it fosters a unified organizational culture across the multiple offices, across the regions, and the diversified workforce that you have. Second is universal messaging. A unified EVP needs to ensure that the messaging resonates globally, promoting the company as the effective employer for choice. Now, what are the things that you need to do to ensure a globally consistent EVP? First would be audit your existing work culture. Identify what are the workforce improvements that you can make. Then you need to, of course, refine and align your EVP with your long-term business expansion goals, as well as the kind of workforce that you are trying to create. It needs to align with that as well. Third would be develop sophisticated candidate personas, and that will help you in further refining your EVP messaging and also help land and resonate more with the candidates that you are looking to attract. Then, of course, goes without saying, you need to regularly gather and incorporate employee feedback and evolve the EVP as you go. So it cannot be something which is static in nature. It needs to be revisited from time to time, and it needs to evolve. Now, apart from developing the globally consistent EVP, you of course also need to tailor it to cater to the regional nuances, because every culture is different, and the workforce that you are targeting may have different priorities than the workforce that you are used to targeting in your home regions. First step in that direction would be tailoring the EVP to involve and align the cultural fitment for the geographies that you're looking at. You need to adapt your branding and communication style to resonate with local talent markets. You need to provide region specific compensation and benefit programs. You need to resonate with the candidates for those particular regions in terms of the career development opportunities that you are going to present to them, so that you are able to align with the expectations that they have from their employers. Localized messaging is critical. You need to create a compelling EVP, which is, of course, global in nature, but is also resonating with the regional audiences. So there will have to be some tweaks that you will have to make as you target different regions. This will involve, of course, conducting thorough research in the local markets and understand the talent availability and competitor offerings. Then you also need to effective regional alignment of the EVP, which involves tailoring key factors to the local needs. Compensation and benefit needs to reflect on the local standards while ensuring competitiveness. This becomes extremely important for some of the key emerging markets where the talent supply is available in ample, but at the same time, the markets are very competitive, especially when you look at the spaces like technology, BFSI, etc. It becomes extremely important to have a decent comp and benefits package, which is appealing to the client or to the candidates that you are targeting in the local geographies. Job security and career progression opportunities. Now, this is one area which varies a lot from region to region. You can have one region where candidates don't really care about the job security and career progression as long as they are getting good compensation and benefits. But in certain other regions, you'll see candidates are willing to take up a job where there is higher security and there is a clear career progression, but at a lower compensation. They are still willing to take that. So you need to account for all those regional nuances into your strategy. This can help you in fostering a long-term workforce plan of the future. Now, I'll take a quick pause and I would love to hear from you, Jeff. What are you seeing in terms of the approaches that the enterprises can adopt from a local plus global perspective?
Everyone has to continually evolve their EVP. The EVP isn't a message. EVP needs to be thought about in organizations more like a magnet. How do we use that to draw people to us so that we're not having to go out and find people? They're coming to us because of what it is that they know that we offer. And to your point, I've called it globalization, where there's one element of what you do in your employee value proposition that has to be very, very global. So people in the marketplace understand this is what this company represents. This is what they want to do. This is the difference that they're trying to make in the world. But then on a more local level, you really have to speak to that person's why. The thing that for them is most attractive. And whether it's Costa Rica or in Malaysia, I've had opportunities through this organization and others to assist organizations in crafting that employer value proposition. At Hudson, we actually have a whole practice on that, as do some of the other RPO providers. I know that years ago, when I was a buyer of RPO services, we really engaged because we wanted to refine that message. We were a very global organization, 20-some thousand employees at the time, across 35 countries. And what we found was that the prior approach to that magnet of trying to bring talent to us probably didn't hit the right chord, and we were having to search harder than we needed to bring talents in. And as we spent time surveying, our employees and surveying the market, measuring what other people were doing in the areas where we operated in, manufacturing or other support services, financial service or customer support, we were able to identify key levers that really, really spoke to local populations that really mattered deeply to them. And it could be as simple as, finding ways to bus people from outer areas to an inner area where they would be able to come together to work. But it's a promise that you're making when you come up with an employee value proposition. It's your commitment. It has to show up in your onboarding, your career paths, how you help managers, have capability to manage people. It's in your employee listening systems. It's everywhere. And the closer it is aligned to the organizational branding or the organization's value proposition, the more harmony you get and the more synergy you get from the marketing efforts of the organization, then that drips right through and trickles into how it is that you're attracting the talent that you're really after in the marketplace.
Yeah, interesting. All right, let's move on to the next step, right? expanding talent pools, and tapping into the emerging markets and early career programs. Now, this is another key area where you need to be investing in, and make sure that you are able to get all the talent that you need in terms of the limited supply that is out there. So let's look at how you can do that, right? So tapping into the skilled talent which is available in pockets in APAC, LATAM, and Africa. Now, as the global talent shortages continue to persist, now there is a need for tapping into the growing pool of highly skilled professionals as well as cost-efficient labor forces in some of these markets. This makes them an attractive destination for your global workforce strategy. While you are seeking to diversify and strengthen your talent pipeline, the potential supply of talent that is coming in from these emerging economies that can help you in strategically tap into the talent supply and also meet your business needs at the same time. Let's talk about this a little bit more, right? So these regions boast of a demographic advantage. There is a younger and growing workforce when you compare it with other mature markets experiencing aging populations, which is becoming a problem of its own now. Skilled professionals in these regions are effectively sought for, particularly for the areas like technology, engineering, and certain other critical domains, for example, life sciences experts, etc. Now, by strategically ensuring that you are targeting these markets, you can bridge the talent gaps in the niche roles that you are facing right now, and you can also help in sustaining the long-term growth for your organization. Let's look at another key aspect of this strategy: a robust early careers and graduate hiring program. Now, the need for having a robust early careers program is paramount. This is where you are able to get talent at early stages in their career, and you can upskill them and groom them to cater to the nuanced requirements that you have at your organization. So not all the skills are taught at universities, right? So basically taking those generic skill sets and contextualizing it to your organization is becoming extremely important. On this slide, we are trying to highlight what are the key components of an effective program that you would want to focus on. Next, let's also cover internal talent mobility very briefly. So internal talent mobility basically refers to the concept of allowing movement of existing employees from one role to another within the organization. But this can only happen at the back of a robust skills ontology program that you need to have in your organization. Of course, that is an initiative in itself, but this can help you unlock talent internally within the organization at the times where you are not able to get the talent outside. So this can help in plugging in that gap from a talent pipeline perspective as well. Right. So Jeff, would love to hear your thoughts on internal mobility as well as early career programs. Are you seeing demand for that in the market? Are you seeing enterprises adopt these solutions, and what kind of benefits they are able to reap out of it? Would love to hear that.
We're seeing it all over the place, and we have for some time. I mean, APAC, LATAM, Africa, I'd say they're surging rather than just emerging. They're just massive talent pools that are just so willing to work in ways that just make, some traditional Western cultures maybe almost have to be embarrassed at the skill sets that are coming and the thinking that's coming. And I've loved walking around, centers that I've helped with in, Manila and in Latin America, where these talents are coming forward and they're doing things to really innovate and help or organizations grow. At Hudson, we leverage kind of a market intelligence first approach when we're helping our clients to choose which emerging markets may be most appropriate and select the location dynamics based on skill depth and retention, even wage volatility. You have some markets out there where you might want to set up in, and you find that if you were to set up there, you may not have an economic environment that's very friendly. I remember with one organization I worked with, we were helping them to set up a call center in Latin America. And the company was going there simply because they wanted some cost mitigation. And in this situation, literally within a month of them opening up their service center, a major technology company willing to pay higher wages opened up a technology center or a service center right down the road. And then there began to be a war over the employees between the two organizations. And all of that cost that they were trying to save ended up really disappearing as this wage volatility and a war for talent began to happen between the organization. What we do know is emerging markets offer a great chance to experiment with flexible employment models. And so, you get into some environments where by providing the right environment for your employees in a location, they're able to service clients and service businesses around the world at a variety of times, at a variety of with a variety of skill sets. So it's really not about offshoring. It's more about unlocking strategic growth through expansion of your talent capabilities. And that's what we've helped organizations to do. And we see more success in those organizations that are really figuring out how and where do we place these centers of excellence across the regions, Lokesh, that you already identified, that then help an organization to really, really offer a strategic advantage and some level, in many cases, of cost optimization to help with the innovation and growth of the organization.
Yeah, yeah. Let's move on to the next part of things. And this is where I think most of you will be very interested to know more about as well. Technology and AI, right? So that is the buzz of the town, buzzword of the town right now. And it is for a good reason as well. What can it help you with? So a robust integrated tech ecosystem is becoming extremely important if you want to build a truly global workforce. There are a ton of things that we spoke about on what you can do, till now. But then how will you do it? And tech plays a very important role in that entire process. It can equip you with all the tools that you need in terms of process efficiencies as well as managing a global workforce. Talent intelligence and analytics is becoming extremely important. Talent engagement and attraction is another area where you need to derive key benefits out of the tech ecosystem that you can build. Process improvement, of course, has its own benefits, and this is also getting augmented by the use cases of AI, generative AI, and even agentic AI that we are seeing out there being implemented by in the markets. So that can help you three aspects: a well integrated tech ecosystem, informed decision making, better engagement with employees as well as candidates, and improved process efficiencies. So, extremely important to have a robust integrated tech ecosystem. Let's quickly also cover on the role of generative AI in recruitment as well. Now, we are seeing a lot of use cases and applications of generative AI. It's primarily driven through process optimization as well as efficiency enhancement, and it's resulting into significant benefits for your overall TA program as well. Whether we talk about recruitment chatbots, which can help simplify the entire workflows, create requisitions, create summaries, or we talk about Gen AI augmented reporting and dashboarding. Now, this is also one of the things that can really help you simplify access to actionable insight within your talent programs. Your talent programs generate a lot of data over time, but nobody is using that data effectively. So, a robust analytics program along with generative AI implementations can help you unlock doors through that as well. I'll take a quick pause here. Jeff, what are you seeing in the market from a tech and AI perspective, particularly?
Yeah, I'd say this is probably where the most chaos is happening right now in the talent acquisition landscape, because it's either elevating organizations and recruiters, or it's putting them almost generations behind where they could be as it relates to how they deal with and handle, their tech stack within an organization. I remember that when I was a talent acquisition leader of an organization, I was just overwhelmed with all the technology opportunities that were out there. Literally every day, I would have another vendor reaching out with their time-saving tool or their new application that we could add to our stack that would help us to really attract and create smooth onboarding experiences. Part of why I made the decision as a talent acquisition leader to actually go and seek assistance from a partner like an RPO was I needed someone who understood the technology situation in the marketplace. And I think that's where RPOs can offer a real unique advantage to organizations, because a lot of times organizations, there are some that are really innovative and want to adopt everything that's out there at the very, very quickest pace. And then there are many others that take a little bit more of a measured approach as they start to think about how are we going to take steps into this world of AI and what it can do. And we've seen articles on the great things that AI is doing already for some organizations, where they're able to now in some organizations literally go from all the way from the requisition through the onboarding without a human really being involved. And so we do know that over time, that will continue to expand. And organizations that tend to embrace it are going to have an advantage on the very front end. One of the things that we've been doing in our own organization with our Talent Fusion product is to really look for ways to come to organizations with call it a library of artificial intelligence tools that we've created an ecosystem where those things can talk to one another. And we're able to then meet our clients where they are, both for their risk appetite as well as for the needs that they have within their organization. So we're finding that coming with that approach is a little bit more effective than what we're seeing with just some of the random, throwing all kinds of AI tools against the wall to see what it is that sticks. We're really doing a lot of due diligence with our digital team to make sure that we understand what the organizations need, and then how do we then help them blend with the future of where recruiting is going, the future of where so much of business is going with these different tools. So obviously lots of volatility in that space, but it's probably one of the most exciting things to be witnessing. I think we're seeing something that might be even a multi-generational chance for us to see something happen.
Yeah, an interesting point that you made, Jeff, right? Yes, there are 20,000 tools probably serving different purposes within the entire recruitment value chain that are out there. Do you need all 20,000? Or how do you curate that appropriate tech stack which can help you optimize the process and meet you where you are? Because I'm sure most of the organizations, they are leveraging some sort of recruitment tech or ATS right now as well. And this is a great segue into the next section as well, because this is where we think forging those strategic partnerships with TA providers become extremely important. We are talking about the experts who have experience and exposure with not only the technology but also the service component as well. So it's important to have these partnerships in place, whether you can do it yourself or not as an enterprise. Of course you can, but do you have the time, resources, and the money to invest into forming this kind of a robust globalized workforce program right now? So this is where the role of TA providers becomes extremely important. Now let's talk about what are the benefits that you can derive out of that. We also explored that while it's important to have a strategic partnership, but what exactly are these TA providers and RPOs bringing to the table? Now they are bringing a robust solution which can help optimize your global talent acquisition programs. You will have TA leaders which are present in one geography, but let's say you want to expand to another market in 6 months from now. Would you want to hire an entire HR and TA team for that region just to get you started? Probably that may not be the right kind of investment that you want to make. So this is where the role of providers become extremely important. They have a globalized footprint and they are able to derive, mobilize the workforce for you in those regions swiftly and effectively. Let's talk about the benefits. Cost efficiency is the first one. RPOs can help you reduce your recruitment expenses by leveraging the offshore and nearshore capabilities and the delivery centers that they have. Now, this can help you transform your fixed costs into flexible performance-based expenses as well. Second is scalability and agility. Now, while you have your own HR and TA functions, what if your business growth is not matching with the growth that you have within your TA and HR functions. So RPOs can help you in swiftly scaling your recruitment efforts up and down, and this can also help in the times of uncertainty that we are living in right now. There are a lot of fluctuations in hiring demand. Nobody knows how many requisitions will open over the course of, let's say, a year or so. So RPOs are able to bring in that flexibility, and they can provide you that operational efficiency as well to effectively scale up and down as required. Specialized expertise is another key value add that you get with RPO providers. Now, the in-depth industry knowledge, the knowledge about the skills that are playing out in the market, the knowledge about the talent, demand, and supply dynamics that are currently playing out in the market, that is one of the key areas where RPO expertise can help you in accessing or tapping into other geographies and build a truly global workforce. Now, you also get access to recruitment technologies. We were talking about 20,000 technologies earlier, right? So an RPO provider can effectively help you curate that tech stack and bring it to your table based on the needs that you have and meet you where your current tech ecosystem sits. Market entry support, we have already spoken about by leveraging the local expertise that the RPOs bring to the table. You will be able to simplify your market entry, and you will be able to navigate the regional labor laws as well as the cultural nuances. And this also ties back to the employer value proposition where we are talking about localization. So RPOs can help you with that as well. And then, of course, there are certain value-added services as well. RPOs can assist in employer branding, D&I initiatives, unlock market intelligence, and also, as we spoke about earlier, help you in designing your early career and graduate hiring programs as well. Let's look at the next aspect. Now you know the benefits of having an RPO program, but what are the different engagement models that you can look at? So recruiter on demand, project RPO, modular RPO, end-to-end RPO. So these are the current constructs that we see playing out in the market. End-to-end RPO, as the name suggests, covers the entire value chain, right from requisition creation to onboarding of the candidate. But what we are seeing a lot in the market is also the modular RPO approach. Now, this means, let's say you don't want to offload the entire value chain of recruitment to an external provider. You can choose which parts of value chain you can offload to them, right? And that is where you are able to strike a balance between your internal HR and TA functions as well as the outsourcing support that you need. Then, of course, project RPO, this is basically a time-based engagement. Usually it's less than a year. So these are short-term, urgent hiring requirement kind of solutions. This can also be leveraged and help you in navigating through that scalability challenges that you may face based on your business demand. Then, of course, recruiter on demand, it's the most simplified version of the entire RPO value chain. Basically, you get recruiters as per the demand, and you are able to scale that up and down with a short turnaround time. So these are the various engagement models that you can look at. With this, I also wanted to highlight that it's also important that while you may have a robust TA program with an RPO provider, it's important to monitor what kind of ROI you are getting from that program as well. So what we have listed out here are certain quantitative as well as qualitative metrics. And these you need to assess both at global as well as regional level separately. This can help you in effectively determining what kind of impact your current RPO program is creating and what are the areas where further improvement can be made. So this also becomes extremely important. So Jeff, your thoughts on the value that TA providers and particularly RPOs can bring to the table for enterprises?
Lokesh, I mean, my career is based on making the shift from, working in companies to now becoming an RPO provider. And I did that because of just what I experienced as a talent acquisition leader by bringing expertise in. I found that, we moved from a very transactional function when I brought in an RPO provider to a very, very transformational function. We were able to answer, through all the things that you were sharing just a minute ago, Lokesh. We had advisory services that helped us develop EVP and helped us with our diversity. They came in and they helped us dramatically improve our college and early careers hiring programs. They helped us with internal mobility by putting structures in place that allowed us to really make sure we were looking at the internal talent before we took the step of going outside. And all of that really wouldn't have happened had we not brought in the people who really do this all the time. And, whether it's us or another organization, I know here at Hudson, we've got 30 years of doing this for organizations all around the world. And it's just been really empowering and exciting for me to be part of that and watch how we come in and kind of mold ourselves right to what those clients are asking for to really provide for them the things that your research is actually uncovering. That when you bring in the experts that really understand this stuff in a pretty dramatic way, you end up finding ways to save costs. You end up finding efficiencies you didn't know you would have had. You improve candidate experiences, hiring manager experiences, and really your overall talent attraction strategies tend to take a step or two up. And so I just want to say thank you. I know we're getting short here on time and needing to wrap up soon, but I'm really grateful for the partnership, Lokesh, that you and your team bring to us at Hudson, the advisory that you give us, and the help that you give us at actually sharpening ourselves to become a much more effective organization as we work with companies around the world.